Marcus Chun had seen enough combat zones to know when something was wrong. The mining colony on Kepler, 442b, should have been quiet except for the hum of extraction equipment. Instead, smoke billowed from the settlement as his transport dropped through the atmosphere. Covenant forces hit 3 hours ago, the pilot shouted over the engine noise. Most civilians evacuated, but some are still trapped in the residential sector. Marcus checked his rifle and medical kit. As a Marine Corps medic attached to the Rapid Response Unit, he'd volunteered for this extraction mission. The Covenant, a militant alien alliance, had been hitting human colonies for months, but this was the first time they'd targeted civilians directly. The transport touched down behind a damaged storage facility. Marcus and his squad moved through the settlement's twisted metal corridors, following desperate communications from survivors. The acrid smell of burned electronics mixed with something worse, the ozone scent that came with Covenant energy weapons. They found a first group of survivors barricaded in a community center. 12 humans, including 3 children, huddled behind overturned tables. Marcus helped load them onto stretchers while his squad mates secure the perimeter. "That's not everyone," said Dr. Sarah Voss, the colony's chief physician. Her lab coat was torn and stained. "There's a family in Block 7. The Hendersons. They have a 6-year-old daughter. Covenant forces are regrouping near Block 7, reported Sergeant Mills through the comm. Heavy resistance expected." Marcus looked at the scared faces around him. These people had been building a life on this distant world, mining rare minerals that would help humanity expand further into space. They didn't deserve to become casualties in an alien war. "I'll get them," Marcus said, checking his gear again. "Chun, that's a suicide run," Mills protested. "We should wait for backup." "The kid won't wait for backup." Marcus moved alone through the settlement's back passages, using maintenance tunnels to avoid Covenant patrols. The aliens were methodical in their search, using handheld scanners to detect human life signs. He could hear their clicking language echoing through the corridors. Block 7 was a residential area with small family units built around a central courtyard. Marcus found the Henderson apartment, but the family was gone. Blast marks on the walls told a story he didn't want to imagine. That's when he heard the crying. The sound came from a supply closet in the unit next door. Marcus approached carefully, weapon ready. What he found inside changed everything he thought he knew about the Covenant. A small alien child, no bigger than a human 6-year-old, cowered in the corner. The creature had scaled skin that shifted from green to pale blue when it saw him. Large, dark eyes filled with the same terror he'd seen in human children during bombing raids. It wore a simple tunic marked with symbols Marcus didn't recognize. The child spoke in clicking sounds, then switched to broken English. "Please, no hurt, Mama gone." Marcus lowered his weapon. In 2 years of fighting the Covenant, he'd never seen their young. Military briefings always showed adult warriors in powered armor, never mentioned families or children. This little being was clearly terrified and alone. "Hey, it's okay," Marcus said softly, using the same gentle tone he used with injured soldiers. "I'm not going to hurt you." The child's scales shifted to a warmer green, and it pointed toward the courtyard. "Mama there. Bad ones take." Through the apartment's window, Marcus could see Covenant soldiers dragging several adult aliens toward transport vehicles. The child's family was being taken somewhere, probably as prisoners. The little one had hidden and been left behind. Marcus faced an impossible choice. His mission was to rescue human survivors. Taking an alien child, even a helpless one, violated every protocol. But looking into those frightened eyes, he couldn't see an enemy. He saw a scared kid who needed help. "What's your name?" he asked. The child made a sound like Zeep and pointed at itself. "Okay, Zeep. I'm Marcus. We need to get you somewhere safe." Marcus rigged a carrying harness for medical supplies, allowing Zeep to ride on his back while keeping his hands free for his weapon. The child weighed almost nothing and clung to him with surprising strength. Getting back through the settlement proved harder than getting in. Covenant forces had expanded their search pattern, and they were actively looking for the missing child. Marcus could hear them calling in their clicking language, their voices urgent. He was halfway to the extraction point when they found him. 3 Covenant warriors emerged from a side corridor, their energy rifles charging with an ominous whine. They shouted something in their language when they saw Zeep, and Marcus didn't need a translator to know they were demanding the child's return. Marcus raised his weapon, but didn't fire. "The kid comes with me." The lead warrior spoke in accented English. "Return the hatchling. It does not concern humans." Like hell it doesn't. The warrior's mandibles clicked in what might have been frustration. "You do not understand. The hatchling is a scared kid," Marcus interrupted. "That's all I need to understand." The standoff lasted 3 heartbeats. Then the Covenant warriors opened fire. Marcus threw himself sideways, shielding Zeep with his body as energy bolts seared the air around them. He rolled behind a concrete barrier and returned fire, his rifle's projectiles sparking off alien armor. "Stay down," he told Zeep, who was making frightened clicking sounds. More Covenant soldiers arrived, flanking his position. Marcus fought with desperate efficiency, using every bit of cover in the narrow corridor. His rifle found weak points in alien armor, dropping 2 warriors before others could take their place. But there were too many. An energy bolt caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Another hit his leg, and he went down hard. Still he kept firing, determined to protect the small life clinging to his back. A blast to the chest cracked his body armor and drove him to his knees. Marcus felt warm blood running down his arms as he emptied his rifle's magazine into the advancing aliens. When the weapon clicked empty, he drew his sidearm. More hits. His left arm went numb. Something hot burned through his abdomen. The corridor started to spin, but he could still hear Zeep's frightened cries behind him. Marcus counted the impacts: 6, 7, 8 hits from Covenant energy weapons. Any one should have been fatal. Somehow he was still moving, still fighting. "Chun, where are you?" Mill's voice crackled through his comm. "Block 7. Got a package. Need extraction now." 2 more bolts hit him center mass. Marcus felt his strength failing as he collapsed forward, his pistol clattering across the floor. Through fading vision, he saw Covenant soldiers approaching cautiously. The last thing he remembered was Zeep's small hands on his face, the child's scales now a deep blue that somehow meant sadness. The alien child was crying, actual tears, and speaking in English. "Please wake up, please." Darkness took him as rescue team explosions echoed in the distance. His final coherent thought was relief that his squad had made it to them. Maybe they could still save the kid. Marcus Chun had taken 12 direct hits from Covenant energy weapons while protecting an alien child he'd known for less than an hour. Military medics would later call his survival impossible. What they didn't know was that his actions that day had been observed by someone far more powerful than any human military commander. In the depths of space, ancient eyes had watched a human warrior choose compassion over protocol, protection over self-preservation. Such courage was rare among any species. It demanded recognition. It demanded reward. Marcus woke to the sound of breathing that wasn't quite human. His eyes opened slowly, focusing on a ceiling that definitely wasn't standard military medical bay construction. Instead of sterile white panels, he saw polished stone carved with intricate patterns that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. The breathing came from his left. Marcus turned his head carefully, expecting to see a human medic or maybe an automated care unit. Instead, he found himself staring at the largest humanoid he'd ever seen. She sat in a chair that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black marble. Her attention focused on a tablet displaying what appeared to be medical readings. When Marcus tried to speak, only a dry rasp came out, but it was enough to get her attention. The woman, if that was the right word, turned toward him, and Marcus had to fight the urge to reach for weapons he didn't have. She was easily 8 feet tall, with a build that suggested she could crush a main battle tank with her bare hands. Her skin had a subtle scaled texture that caught the light like polished obsidian, and her eyes were a deep golden color with vertical pupils. When she moved, Marcus caught a glimpse of what might have been wing membranes folded against her back. But What struck him most was her face. Despite the obviously non-human features, her expression showed genuine concern as she leaned forward to check on him. "You're awake," she said in perfect English, her voice carrying a slight harmonic undertone that made it sound like two people speaking in unison. "How do you feel?" Marcus tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. His entire body felt like he'd been hit by a freight train. "Like I got shot 12 times. Technically, it was 12 energy weapon impacts," she said with what might have been a smile. "You humans have remarkable resilience, but even your species has limits. You died 3 times during surgery." "Surgery?" Marcus looked down at himself. He was wearing a simple tunic, but he could see the edges of what looked like advanced healing patches covering his chest and arms. "Where am I?" "Safe," the woman said. "My ship. You've been unconscious for 6 standard days while our medical systems repaired the damage to your body." "Our medical systems?" Marcus tried to process this. "Who's our—" Before she could answer, a familiar clicking sound came from the room's entrance. Marcus turned to see Zeep bouncing excitedly on small legs, the little alien scales now a bright, happy green. "Marcus awake," Zeep said in English that was much improved from their first meeting. "Told Mama you wake up soon." The large woman chuckled, a sound like distant thunder. "Yes, little one. I told you his vital signs were improving." Marcus looked between them, confusion clear on his face. "Mama, not biologically," the woman explained. "But Zeep has decided I'm an acceptable guardian since we rescued her family. My name is Kalen of the Draknari. Let's say I'm a peace negotiator working to end the war between your species and the various factions you call the Covenant." "The Covenant has kids," Marcus said, still processing. "We never knew they had families. Your military encounters only the militant factions, religious extremists, and territorial expansionists who see humanity as a threat. They don't represent all our people any more than your most aggressive generals represent all humans." Zeep climbed onto the bed with surprising agility and settled next to Marcus like a small, scaly cat. "Bad ones take family to work camps. Make Mama and Papa mine crystals for weapons. Mama Kalen, get them back." "Your actions protecting Zeep drew attention," Kalen explained. "When my people monitored human communications about the impossible survival of a medic who took 12 fatal hits while protecting an alien child, I knew I had to meet you." Marcus studied Kalen more carefully. The chair she'd been sitting in wasn't just carved stone. It was part of a room that looked more like a temple than a medical bay. Crystals embedded in the walls pulsed with soft light, and the air itself seemed to hum with energy. "Draknari," he said. "I've heard that word. Intelligence briefings mention them as a possible Covenant leadership cast, but we've never made contact. Because we don't usually involve ourselves in conflict between younger races," Kalen said. "We're older than most species in this galaxy. Our role is typically to observe and occasionally guide, not to interfere directly. But, watching a human warrior choose to protect one of our allied species' children, even at the cost of his own life, suggested that direct contact might be worthwhile." Marcus felt strength returning to his limbs as whatever advanced healing technology was treating him continued its work. "Allied species? Zeep's people aren't part of the Covenant. The Covenant is a loose military alliance of convenience," Kalen explained. "Some member species joined willingly, others were coerced. Zeep's people, the Kalari, were forced into mining operations when they refused to provide soldiers for the human war. So we're fighting people who don't even want to fight us. Some of them, yes. The militant factions control the narrative and use economic pressure to force compliance from peaceful species." Zeep looked up at Marcus with those large, dark eyes. "You saved me from bad ones. Mama Kalen says you very brave. Draknari honor brave warriors." "What kind of honor?" Marcus asked cautiously. Kalen's golden eyes seemed to glow brighter. "The kind that comes with choosing sides in a war that's about to change dramatically." She stood up, and Marcus got the full impact of her impressive size. With her wings partially extended, she was easily 10 feet from tip to tip. But instead of intimidating, her presence felt protective. Your survival wasn't entirely natural, she admitted. Draknari medical technology kept you alive during transport and surgery. But your body's response to treatment suggests something unusual about human physiology. Unusual how? You adapted to our healing systems better than any non-Draknari subject on record. Your cellular regeneration accelerated beyond normal parameters. Either humans are remarkably compatible with our biotechnology, or you're exceptional even among your own species. Marcus thought about his military service, the number of injuries that had healed faster than medics expected, the way he seemed to bounce back from combat stress that left other soldiers with lasting trauma. Maybe both, he said. Perhaps. Which brings me to why I wanted to meet you personally. Kalen moved to a viewport Marcus hadn't noticed before. Beyond it, he could see stars and what looked like several massive ships in formation. The Draknari have remained neutral in the Human Covenant conflict because we weren't convinced either side was worth supporting. And now I've seen a human warrior take 12 fatal hits to protect a